Hi guys, my name is Hermit in the Forest. Today I want to talk about physical collector's editions that are sometimes, if we are lucky enough, accompanying video game releases. I will focus on role-playing genre since that is my field of study, and I have to admit that each genre deserves different approach in this matter. Because differences between various video game genres should be reflected in the physical contents of game boxes. Collector's editions of action or strategy games shouldn't have the same physical contents as RPG boxes, since focus of those video games is directed towards different things. Sadly, game publishers often follow the same unoriginal pattern in their releases and put the same items inside, making those releases monotonous and boring. First and foremost, let's talk about the box. Collector's edition box is the most important of all its parts, and again, the publishers tend to forget this fact. Their thinking is the bigger the better, packing video games like TVs in huge cardboard boxes filled with polystyrene. But the collector doesn't want to unpack the box, get the contents, and then throw the box and polystyrene away. He wants to order the box to his collection, put it on some shelf or some display case. For that, the box needs to have a reasonable size. In the ideal case, it should have block shape with 2 dimensions corresponding to A4 format or slightly smaller, and the last dimension should have some 5 to 10 centimeters. As an example, you can see collector's boxes of Diablo 3, Neverwinter Nights 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition Guide. The box on the right actually contains the hardcover guide, not the game, but it is a great example. Of course, size is much more important than shape. The boxes can be of trapezoid or cube or other shape, but their total volume should be about this. A unique shape can often be very enjoyable. Recently released Fallout 4 Pip-Boy edition and Fallout Anthology with atomic bomb case look really great. Their size is big but still acceptable. Collector's editions boxes should be really sturdy and embossed. Forget about sleeves. I tell you that sleeve style boxes suck. It is nice if faces of the box have some 3D aspects like cuts or glued parts. Here you can see a jewel as a part of Arcania Gothic 4 box. Also, latest Assassin's Creed Collector's releases, the Guillotine edition and Big Ben edition have such features. Sadly, those are oversized. Regarding the box art, it should scream the game's name. The box is the only item that should work as an advertisement and should include the game's full name. This is, however, widely used practice. Personally, I think the art used on the game boxes is quite nice and there is no problem with that. Next, let's talk about the physical contents a RPG Collector's Edition should include. There has to be the game itself, of course, DRM free at best, but even if it requires online activation through a code, there still should be physical media with the game files. Speaking about the rest physical items, they should relate directly to the gameplay, to the very experience you get when playing the game. It should be either something you can hear in-game, see in-game, or use in-game. There should definitely be a manual with detailed info about gameplay and controls, most importantly with info about character development and used role-playing system. Then there should be soundtrack CD included. Another thing is a map, which should be useful, however, not just some fancy trinket to put on the wall, but a map that you can look on and plan your next in-game move. It doesn't have to be a map of the whole game world necessarily. It can also be a map of some important area, a dungeon for example. Together with a map should come a lore book that explains the world, places, inhabitants, religions and other story-related aspects to the player. Then there can be some trinkets from the game. Items or monsters or people that you encounter in-game, in the form of card or dice game, figurine, mug, t-shirt, poster or stickers for example. But now to the important thing. Let's draw a very thick line between advertising and attraction. Because I am convinced that collectors don't want promotional items. They don't want t-shirts with game's name, stickers or ugly mugs with company logos. Those items belong to the garbage bin. Advertising ruins the affection big time. Even digital rewards like beautiful wallpapers lose their attraction if there is big company or game name written on them. The trinkets should be advertisement free and on top of that something that exists in game. Stickers of in-game characters or monsters, t-shirt with some in-game motif and a mug that you can drink from in-game and now it's manifested in physical form in the real world, that is something completely different and 100 times better. If there are cards or dice included, it should also be present in-game as a minigame. Then you can play the cards or dice in real world as well as in video game, and that makes sense. Regarding items like making of media or art books, I consider them unnecessary. They are definitely related to the game, but are not its integral part. I would choose a lore book over art book anytime, since the art book mostly doesn't help in any way during gameplay, and storytelling is one of the crucial RPG aspects. Speaking about figurines and statues, that is probably the biggest problem nowadays. It seems like putting the biggest possible hero statue into the box is considered as some kind of ultimate collector's desire, which is false. It negatively influences the box size and also the quality of other physical contents. We have to take the game genre into consideration again. If it is an action game like upcoming Doom, for example, then it can work. But RPG collector's editions should include other much more important physical items that are often missing because of the statue. Well, if there are figurines present in the collector's editions box, there should be about the size of Vault Boy from Fallout 3, you can see it on the left, or a giant from Neverwinter Nights 2 to the right, at maximum as the hero of Deus Ex Human Revolution in the middle. Those fit into the boxes nicely. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the big statues look cool, and for example the Witcher 3 statue or Geralt battling Griffin or Price-Mir Troll from Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning are gorgeous, but they don't belong to RPG collector's editions. They have to be sold separately as an add-on. The same applies for art books. I have to mention Fallout 4 again, where they made no compromises and released the game art in form of huge thick book sold as an add-on instead of cutting it to third of its volume and putting tons of polystyrene around it, then wrapping it in sleeve-style cardboard together with some mutant statue and selling it as collector's edition. I have to say that publishing of Fallout 4 is a big advancement for Bethesda in comparison with Skyrim. Now let's take a look at some examples of bad publishing skills. Take a look here. On the right is the Skyrim soundtrack. In my opinion, the best PC video game soundtrack ever. It comes on 4 CDs in this nice case and is relatively small. Still, it was not included in the huge collector's edition box. On the left, you can see Skyrim Lore Book, a compilation of in-game books that you can find all over the world of Skyrim, but usually you don't bother to collect or read them. However, if they are presented to you with such beautiful art and all the volumes are aligned to form a compact story, you will take your time to read them while not playing. Then it can help you experience the game world even more when you return. Again, this lore book was not part of collector's edition. Instead, the box was filled with dragon statue and art book. Bethesda presented us complex living open world RPG with unique characters and stories, and all they could think of is a huge dragon statue. Please don't torment me like this anymore. Here you can see a nice Diablo 3 and The Witcher 3 lore books, sold separately, each having beautiful art, and those would definitely be nice and suitable part of corresponding collector's edition. The last thing I want to talk about is the lack of choice. Today there exist various editions of video games, but the bigger editions always include the smaller ones. There is basic DVD case, then you add something to it, you get special edition, again you add something more and get collector's edition, and so on. So the most collectible release includes all the items from the lesser editions. Serious collectors tend to collect the most collectible releases, of course, so that leaves no much choice. How about if each edition included different items? There could be a statue edition, art edition, lore edition, etc. Each having unique items not present in other releases, so one can really pick what suits him most. Since there is almost zero experience with such approach, I cannot say if it will actually work, but I think it is something to ponder upon. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you for listening.